Good morning, everyone. This is Michael Ellis. I'm publisher of Rural Lifestyle Dealer Magazine. Thanks very much for joining us for another webinar event presented by our Rural Lifestyle Dealer. Today's presentation is brought to you free, courtesy of Zetter North America. Now, today's presenter, Mike Wiles, will take an in-depth look at why rural lifestyle equipment dealers need to be doing more educating and less selling. The internet has drastically changed the purchasing process for the novice rural equipment buyer, from how they gather product information to their preferred methods of communication. Now, Mike's going to lean on his over 20 years in the retail and wholesale equipment business to offer his insights on this evolution and how to set yourselves up better for success. In addition to Mike's work as a contributing writer for both Rural Lifestyle Dealer and our sister publication Farm Equipment, he co-owns edmforsales.com, which develops websites for dealers. And Mike also hosts the website asktractormike.com to educate new tractor customers. So he's a busy guy. Now, before we turn the controls over to Mike, I've got a couple of housekeeping items. On your screen, you'll see a white arrow within an orange box. You can click on the arrow and choose question to open up a question field, and that's going to allow you to submit questions at any time during the presentation. Time permitting, we're going to look to answer as many of the questions as we possibly can at the end of Mike's presentation. If we don't get to all of them, we're going to send the remaining ones home with Mike so he can answer them, and then we'll put those answers up on our website along with the archived video replay of the webinar, so then you can go back after and review it if you'd like to take a look at what Mike's response is. Now, if for any reason your internet connection or our connection should happen to fail throughout the webinar and it appears the webinar has been interrupted, just go back to the email that you received earlier telling you how to join the webinar, and you can re-enter that way. So with that, we're going to be ready to roll. Thanks again for joining us, and now we're going to turn everything over to Mike Wiles. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Michael. Thank you very much. I want to express my appreciation. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to present something like this and to be involved. I'd like to thank Rural Lifestyle Dealer Magazine, Farm Equipment Magazine, and Zetter, our sponsor for this. And I hope everybody can hear me okay. I was struggling a little bit with the sound there from Michael, but our topic today is managing the sales process with a novice rural lifestyle customer, and this is a group of people I've been involved with a lot, and I have a passion for the small equipment and love it, and I just love sharing information about this this customer base. We're going to try to get started here. Whoop. Okay. In Missouri, we had an orchard operation. We sold our produce at a retail business. Mom and Dad were experts at retail, and I almost came out of the crib in a retail sales situation. And I went to college locally. I came out of college with a degree in communications and a minor in ag, and became farm director at a radio station back when that was how most everybody got their farm information. And from there, one of my clients was AGCO, and when their territory manager got moved up the ladder, I applied for the position and was hired. Spent 10 years at that job, and then at the end of the 10 years, one of my better dealers, S&H Farm Supply, was expanding to a new location, and they asked me to come in and manage it. And the S&H is in the bottom right-hand corner. They're located between Springfield, Missouri, and Rogersville, Missouri, on Highway 60. If you're ever in the area, stop by and see it. It's a really nice facility, and they do a great job. So that's my background, and I've gone from having 3 jobs in 33 years to having 4 jobs now. And Michael already alluded to this. I write for Rural Lifestyle Dealer and Farm Equipment, and also a group of general agricultural publications. So I do a lot of writing. I'm a partner in EDM, Equipment Dealer Marketing. We do websites. I'm the host of AskTractorMike.com. And it's a website where I try to train folks on the basics in tractors. And also, I teach agricultural sales at Missouri State University, the local university here. So that's who I am. And why I'm offering information about our topic today, and I'll just kind of connect the dots for you. I was a manager of a dealership that dealt primarily with rural life. Well, I say primarily. We had a big ag clientele and we had an industrial clientele too, but a lot of our customers at S&H were rural lifestyle customers. And so I've had a long experience with the group. And the thing that really helped me kind of connect the dots about this group of people is Farm Equipment Magazine in the fall of last year sent me to cover Digital Dealer, which is an automotive conference in Las Vegas, and it rotates around the country, where the latest and greatest minds in the automotive world come together to talk with dealers about what the trends are and what the new stuff is in the digital world. And I thought this was really a good idea from Farm Equipment to cover this meeting, because what happens in their industry is eventually going to trickle down to ours for the most part, and probably quicker to the rural lifestyle segment than to the farm segment. But anyway, the article appeared in the January 2015 Farm Equipment Magazine. It's online. If you didn't read it, not because I wrote it, but because there's a lot of really good information in there, I would urge you to read it. And also, my teaching at Missouri State University allowed me to be involved in what the academic community sees the retail business being right now, and it's changing radically, and they know it. So just a kind of a real broad overview of where we are right now, and this is the changes that are impacting us or impacting anybody involved in retail. The internet has brought a radical change in the way people shop. And most industries are spending a lot of money to study these changes and figure out how to deal with them and move forward. And I could be wrong on this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there doesn't seem to be a consolidated effort in our world to study these things. And you can bring in a consultant to talk about the changes in the retail world to help you, but as far as the farm equipment or the rural lifestyle industry getting together and talking about these things, I haven't seen it. And if you know something, let me know, because I'd like to go to it. But that's why we're here. And if there's a demand for all of us to get together and possibly get something like that going where we talk about these things, I'm sure Lessiter Publications might be the people that would put that together. So let us know if you think there's a demand to know these things. What we're going to talk about today, and we're going to get right into the meat of this, we're going to talk about what specifically has changed in the retail process. And a lot of us don't like change, but if we adapt to this change, it's a huge opportunity for us to improve and branch out and make our businesses more profitable. And the last thing is, what specifically do we need to be doing differently, or as we refer to in the magazines, the takeaways. So what happened with the advent of the internet? This is the textbook that I used in ag sales, and this is a state-of-the-art textbook where the people in the academic world analyze what is going on in the retail process. And I barely got this book in time for the class. It's the 13th edition. They're having to rewrite this book almost on a yearly basis because things are changing so fast. And I barely got the latest edition in time for the class. But I really think these guys nailed it. When I read this, it jumped off the page to me. The customer has supplanted the product as the driving force in sales today. And if you'll remember, you've been around as long as I have, back before the internet, we spent a gob of time talking about products, how our products were better than other people's. We talk about features and benefits, and the bulk of the time we spent was studying our product and our competitors' products. And it's still important to know all that stuff, but we're spending more time today focusing on the customer than we are the products that we sell. So what did the internet do? Well, the first thing it did, and this is the big thing, it gave customers knowledge and influence power. And they are now in control of the sales process. In the old days, they had to come to you to know about your product. Today, they can go online and do research and find out almost as much as you know about your product from different websites. In the old days, they had to wait till your doors were open to come in and find out things. And today, they can do it all the time. They've also gained influence. And you know, if you had an angry customer before the internet, he might tell his circle of friends, but that's as far as it went. Today, it can go a lot further. And as we mentioned, they're now shopping all hours of the day and night, and the website has to attract and engage them. They'll probably get their information about the product and the models and all that off of websites. They may decide where they're going to buy through social media and comments on the internet. So it's critical that we take care of folks that are making those comments. This is a big change. Prior to the internet, it was tough to get their personal information out of them. If you were talking to somebody about a transaction and you said, can I get your name and your phone number? A lot of times they'd say, well, we're just starting the shopping process and I'm really not ready to give that out yet. Today, they'll give it all out, but they expect something back in return for that. This is a huge change, and I didn't really realize that as much until I went to the digital dealer meeting. You know, we talk about the sales funnel. At the top of the funnel, there's all kinds of options. You know, you're trying to decide which brand you want. There's several brands in consideration. There's several models in consideration, several dealers in consideration. And then as you do your research, you know, you may weed out a brand and you decide, you kind of focus in on the models you might be interested in. And every point in the sales process, you get further down in the funnel. Customers are way deeper in the sales funnel now when we first see them, when they walk in our door, than they've ever been. And this just blew my mind. At the digital dealer meeting, they told us that the average new car buyer visits 1.2 dealerships before they own a new car. 1.2 dealerships. And the inference they gave us there is that they do all the research online. They know what they're going to buy and where they're going to buy it. They walk in the door, and the only time you're going to lose them is if you screw up. They're there to buy. And the point two comes from if they walk in the door and they have a bad experience immediately, then they go to plan B. So once you see them, it's critical that you get their business. And I really think, not in the ag business, but in the rural lifestyle business, they equate your level of service with that of automotive dealers. It's a major purchase. It has tires on it, you know, so they equate what they experience at the car dealership with what they expect to experience at your dealership. And you are really poised to exceed their expectations because of the way you do business. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. The opportunities come from the fact that the outdoor power equipment, the rural lifestyle business, the farm equipment business, we're different. The rural lifestyle business, the customers are buying a product that they generally don't understand, and they may feel that their research on the internet got them close to your level of knowledge. And this is pretty important because it's something I'm going to tell you about. That's the possibility of confrontation negotiation, which we avoid. Tying in a question because they don't want to reveal to you that they don't know. You and I know if you deal with these folks, a couple of questions into it, you know if they know anything about equipment or not. So you're going to know anyway. But they don't want to ask a lot of questions to show their ignorance, basically. And this is the difference with us. We're used, if we're an ag background dealer, we're used to dealing with people that understand our product well. They've used it, and they know it just about as well as we do, and maybe in some cases better. And they really don't use online much. They're online, but they're not on there doing a tremendous amount of research. We are not, as rural lifestyle dealers and farm equipment dealers, generally prepared to get their contact information and put it into a database for follow-up. Some of you are further along on this curve than others. If you're getting their information, great. The car guys struggle with this too. They a lot of time spend a digital dealer trying to get the salespeople to get contact information from people walking in the door that didn't buy, and contact information from people on the phone. So they're struggling with the same thing. And then we've got this seasonality challenge, and I deeply appreciate all you guys joining me today. I know you're busy, and you know, we're almost to the point that we need a person on staff, and many of you have this person that is isolated from the seasonality, that can continually update the internet and respond to requests for information regardless of what's going on outside in the dealership when it's busy like it is right now. You can't do it when you have time to do it. You've got to do it when the customer demands it. Here's the good news. Once you've got the website clicking, it's like having a salesman that's out there all night long waiting for a customer to get up out of bed and decide to go shopping. The rural lifestyle customers really want to understand the product, and they want somebody to kind of take them by the hand and show it to them, and they want to build a relationship with you. These guys, you've got to kind of get in their minds. They're moving from the city out to the farm. They have a kind of a romantic view of the agricultural world, and you can help them realize that dream because you know the product and you can train them on it. You're all about relationships. By and large, people in our business are more about relationships than the car people are. The automotive world is having to train their salespeople to develop relationships, whereas we're there already for the most part. Last car I bought, I didn't develop a relationship with the person that sold it to me, but almost all of you are used to doing that. And once you gain their trust, and we'll talk about some specifics here in just a minute, you know, they're going to let you do the service work, and they're going to realize as they get more educated, especially with compact tractors, on what they have, they're going to be back to buy more stuff to go on it. And it's stuff that's higher margin stuff, and there's not going to be a lot of shopping there. And if you can make a priority out of getting their contact information and get organized about where you put it, it's a win-win deal. You increase the effectiveness of your marketing efforts, and you also reduce cost. And then these customers that you're dealing with, once you have them have a relationship with them, they're going to be telling everybody about the positive experience they had through social media. So we hate change, but there's good news in all this that's going on. So I just want to bring that out. Okay, what do I do? This is specific stuff that we can do at our dealerships. These are the takeaways. It all starts with the website. First thing, you want to make sure that you're being included in the Google searches. And how you do this, have some friends or whoever, you do it at different computers around the area, and just type in compact tractor or type in four-wheeler and see if you come up. You need to be on the first page. You need to be in the top 2 or 3. It's critical. If you're not, you need some assistance in that area. We also need to make sure that our websites are answering pertinent questions. And I highly recommend a lot of pictures and video. I'm a big video guy. And just kind of picture just a little bit. I was telling a friend about doing this conference, and he said, yeah, I get up a lot of times in the middle of the night if I can't sleep, and I'll go down and shop for guns. He's a gun collector. And just picture in your mind a guy that wakes up in the middle of the night and goes down to the computer, and he's on shopping for rural lifestyle type products. If it's the same as if you walked in your dealership, you wouldn't hand him the answers to his questions on a piece of paper where he had to read them. You would respond in person. So that's why I like video. That's like having an active salesman that you talk to. This is one that it took me a while to figure out. You're starting to get a lot of, when your website is clicking, you're starting to get online requests for additional information. What I equated this to when it first started happening was the old reader response cards. And if you've been around the business a while, you remember a lot of magazines put these reader response cards in, and it prompted you to fill out your contact information, and you sent it to an equipment supplier, and they sent you a brochure, and they in turn notified the local dealer to contact you. And a lot of times those contacts weren't very good. It was either you'd call the guy that wanted information on a combine, a self-propelled windrower, and a four-wheeler, and you'd get his mom, and she'd say, yeah, he'll be home from school about 3 o'clock if you want to call back. Or it was an elderly person or something like that. They weren't buyers. And I kind of equated these online requests for more information to those reader response cards. These online requests for additional information are active shoppers, and it took me a while to figure that out. They expect a quick response, and if you don't give it to them, somebody else will. The car guys have gotten to the point that their average response time is 4 minutes, and the really, really top car guys can get back with people in an average of 2 minutes, and they'd like to be back immediately, and that's where they're headed. So pretend any online request for more information is somebody that just walked in your door and they're looking for a salesman. That's how fast we need to get back with them. When the rural lifestyle customer gets to the dealership, you need to reach out immediately. I would guess that most of you have been at a car dealership, and again, that's who we're being compared to, and you're driving through their lot looking at their inventory, and out bolts a salesman who's trying to chase you down to wait on you. And I remember when that kind of started and people would make fun, boy, you go up to friendly Ford and the guy will come out and run after you. But what it did, it showed that they really wanted the business, and it showed an aggressiveness, and it got people talking about it. I don't think we need to be to that level yet, but we need to be able to reach out to these people when they show up, because again, they're deeper in the sales funnel. We struggled with that at S&H. If you've ever been to this dealership, it's really well designed. You drive in the driveway and drive past the long row of inventory before you get to the front door. And many times the folks that were shopping for compact tractors would stop at the compact tractor line. It was right in the front, and we might not even know they were there. And it's a different mentality than the ag guys. I've seen ag guys that'll be out on the lot with a baler for 2 hours, and it's usually a guy, maybe his buddy, and they're going over. You wonder if they're going to disassemble the baler. They're going over every aspect of that baler, what they changed and what's new, and they know that when they're done with that, they can come in and they'll find a salesman, and the sales process continues. The rural lifestyle customer is not like that at all, so we need to get right with them. This is probably the greatest piece of wisdom that I can bestow on the way the retail sales process needs to work in today's environment. The most important part of the sales process is the needs discovery aspect. That's where the salesperson is asking questions about what do you need this to do. And equally important, and I would have loved to have studied more psychology to find out what's going on in the minds, but as the person that is a prospect is answering the questions that the salesman is asking, he is watching the salesperson to see how they're responding and how they're listening to the questions. And they are gauging the level of interest by that whole process. So what this means is our salespeople need to be asking questions and finding out what the person needs, what the solution to their problem is, and listening to the answers and educating them about the product and being just a little proactive in education, and especially about safety of the product. And what this all says to the customer is, I am more concerned about you than I am about your money. And if you can get to that point, you're in the process of developing relationships. This one is critical. If you come from an ag background, if the husband and wife are there, most of the time you're talking completely to the man. The woman is not really involved in the sales process, and so you're focusing on talking to the man who'll be using the product. In the rural lifestyle business, more times, more often than not, and 90% of the time, if the man and the woman are there together, the woman is very actively involved in the sales process, and you need to be talking to both of them and making eye contact with both of them. I see salespeople in every retail business known to man get tripped up on this, especially guys talking just to the man and ignoring the woman. And I tell you from experience, my wife and I go in someplace and the guy is making all the eye contact and talking to me, we're out of there. So you got to do this. And that may take retraining salespeople. Confrontational negotiation is something that happens with a real lifestyle customer, and I'm not exactly sure why. And it may be the area I live in, but I'm going to talk about this just in case everybody experiences this. What happens a lot of times, these people come in there, it's almost like they're angry when they come in, and they're looking for something to be mad about in your dealership. And they've done a little research online, and they start telling you what they want, and they may tell you something that just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. They may say, I'm here to buy a brush cutter with 5 tail wheels, and or something just bizarre. I've seen that often, and you're like, where in the world did you get that? I don't understand. And it's real easy to come back at them and talk down to them and imply that they don't know what they're talking about, and we have to avoid that. You always say, well, you've done a lot of research there. Right? It's obvious you've studied up on it. Tell me what you're trying to do and why you need that option, whatever it is. But even when they come in and they've done no research, it's almost like they're looking for something to be mad at, and just a lot of talking before you even get to the sales process. And I could literally tell when you talk to them about their place in the country, or you talk to them about what they want to do, their needs. Just all of a sudden, their confrontational status kind of melts, and they're ready to talk to you in a civilized way, and pretty soon you're building relationships. So if customers all around the country are like they are in my area, you got to get past that. And we've already talked a great deal about this. We've got to get their contact information. Now, I mentioned before, we get their contact information because it increases the effectiveness of our marketing, and it reduces the cost. But here's the real reason we've got to do it. They expect you to do it. They know you have the technology to gather their personal information, and if you don't ask for it and get it, or if you get it and don't do anything with it, or if you use it wrongly, they judge you by that. And what I'm saying, the automotive guys talked about buckets. We've got a customer that's in our dealership, and we're going to get their contact information, and we find out that they're shopping for a compact tractor, they own a 4-wheeler, and they own a 0-turn mower that's 10 years old. So we're gonna put them in our prospect for tractor bucket. We're also going to put them in our prospect for 0-turn bucket. We find out they hunt, and so in the fall they're going to need their 4-wheeler serviced. So we're going to put them in that bucket. In other words, you segment them out to really small subgroups about their interests, and then you send them marketing material related to their interests. And when they get targeted information, you've held up your end of the agreement. If you send them something that totally, if you send a compact tractor guy a combine service special by email, he's gonna, that tells him you don't care about him, you don't know him, and he may hide you or make your emails go to junk mail. So we've got to get their information. We've got to segment it. This takes a lot of work. It takes somebody outside the sales process to do, but we have to get there. These folks have this new influence power, and so we have to handle their complaints quickly and directly. And the way you do that, and I see a lot of the car guys not do this right. If you've got someone that's upset, we've got to first say, I am, and got you. What I always I told I don't know check where I should probably I know they don't customers like they're happy customers, so we need to get through this. What's fair? And then let them talk. And many times what's fair to them is easy to deliver. But and if they're complaining on the internet, we want to kind of do it the same way. We want to apologize. We want to say, I understand why they were upset. You can kind of give a brief explanation of what happened if it doesn't sound like an excuse. And then we want to resolve this situation. And when you show a willingness to meet them somewhere in the middle, I think you'll get a lot of benefit out of this. There are some of these customers you can't keep happy. You don't want all of them. And when you build up relationship with enough people and you have enough support on social media and the internet, a lot of times if there's a guy that is just done with you, you didn't make you happy, you will have people that have done business with you that like you rally and say, I don't know where this guy was coming from, and that's where we want to get. Training is critical to these customers. It's critical so that they're doing the job right and getting their work done. It's critical so they're safe. And one of the things that S&H did, and I thought this was a brilliant move, whenever somebody bought, and they actually did it on all tractors, not just compact tractors, but especially with compact tractors, when the contractor walk around, we back in the shop, and there's radio, and that's all documents for your life. And so they were ready when they got home. Especially safety was a huge priority. I think it should be, if possible, a visit. Stop by and see if they're getting along all right with the equipment. You'll possibly sell them something else. You'll possibly find out they don't understand exactly how to use it, and you can show them, and it'll keep them coming in the door. And then, getting back to our point number one, after they bought, we need to follow up with targeted promotions and keep them kind of tied in with our dealership and make them a part of the family.
Thanks, Mike.
And Michael, if you can hear me, I am muted. Hey, there you are.
Sorry about that.
Oh, good.
Yeah, let's head into the Q&A
for a minute
of the program. We have had a couple come in throughout the presentation. And in case you missed it at the front end, if you have a question on your screen, there's a white arrow in an orange box. You can click on that arrow, choose question, and open up a question field, and that will allow you to submit your question. All right, so let's start plowing through some of the questions here, Mike. First one, what have you found is a reasonable amount of time to wait to follow up from the initial dealership introduction?
Okay, I think the question is, how soon do I follow up with him?
Yep, that's cool.
In the old days, okay, in the old days, I would have said longer. What I'm seeing with the research at the and where our sales guy is up at 8 o'clock. He's likely going to go to several dealerships in that day. I think we need to follow up before we go home that day. If he's there from noon on, I think first thing the next morning. I think it needs to be fairly fast. Hope that.
Sounds good. Next one. Can you talk about the art of generating leads from this market?
Well, the rural lifestyle customer has been really hard to find. And that's, part of the reason I've done my website, to be honest with you, is try to get them in one place at one time. Your website as a dealer needs to have a place where they can tell them they'd like a contact from a salesperson. So your website is the number one place to generate leads. If you have a Facebook page, I'd probably kind of keep an eye on the traffic, and you might be able to see somebody that's making comments or sharing videos that would tell you they're a lead. Honestly, if I've studied this for a lot of years, trying to figure out how to reach out to especially the compact tractor guy. Farm guys are pretty easy. They go to farm shows and they watch certain programs and they read certain magazines and all that. The compact tractor guy, the only common thing about him I think you can find is that he is a city guy that has moved to the country. And if you could figure out a way to touch him a year after he's bought that dream place in the country, the chronology generally is he bought his dream place in the country. He's out there about a year. The Craftsman lawnmower is not up to 20 acres of mowing, and he's there to see you. So if you could catch him in between that phase, and the only way I really know of doing that, if you have a couple of real estate agents in your area that are breaking up farm ground into 20-acre plots and selling it to people, they would know who the compact tractor buyers are, and that's about the best wisdom I can give you on that. It's a tricky audience to find because they come from all walks of life. They tend to be at least 40 years old and older. They're a lot of times, professionals. They have good-paying jobs. They can be retired people. So it's a tough audience to find. It's a good question.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's some great insight, though. This one kind of circles back to that point you were making about the car dealerships running out on the lot. What do you do with salespeople who seem content to wait on the rural customer to walk into the dealership rather than to reach out to them?
Boy, I tell you, that's one we've struggled with as well. The problem is, who do they reach out to? The ag market, we're accustomed in the ag market, which is a different market. It's a business-to-business sales. Your farm guy is on the farm. He expects you to be out there and talk to him about his equipment needs, and it's business to business. The rural lifestyle customer, it's more of a hobby to him, and so I'm not sure the level of expectation is that you visit him cold call wise. I think if he's bought your product and you go see him, I think that's awesome. The other problem is a lot of these rural lifestyle guys, like I said, have good jobs. So if you go to visit them, you got to catch them at work, and I don't know how that would go over. So I understand where the question is coming from. It seemed, if I were an owner and I've got these sales guys sitting around, I feel like they need to be out, but I also know that when you almost have a little wait, you almost always have to have a little waste. At the dealership I worked at, from 8 to 10 in the morning, it'd be real slow, and then here they come. The rural lifestyle customer generally, at least in our area, didn't show up till 10 o'clock, and then sometimes you had people waiting, and you don't want that. So it's all hands on deck when they're there, and the rest of the time, I just don't know how you find these guys. So I don't have a good answer for that.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. And this kind of dovetails off that, and it might be along the same lines with the answer. How many prospecting calls would you expect a salesman to make during a month?
Well, again, I'm not exactly sure where he prospects.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to be at trade shows, lawn and garden shows. The compact tractor buyer goes to farm shows because he knows they're there. And we've got to follow up on all kinds of leads. As far as cold calling the rural lifestyle customer, that kind of product line, there's a lot of entities that use that product. You know, rental yards, you definitely got to see them. People that municipalities, people like that. There's certain people that consume outdoor power equipment products or rural lifestyle customers, but just the average guy that moves out to 20 acres and needs a compact tractor, I'm not sure how you prospect him. I'm open to suggestions. This might be something where I learn from other people's success, so I'll leave it at that.
Gotcha. In your opinion, are key players in the farm machinery industry behind the curve when it comes to using digital to communicate?
Well, you know, my first thought is yes, but as you kind of think about that question, and you said farm machinery,
I would think that applies to, the rural dealerships as well.
I still see some folks that are doing video. I'm pretty tuned into video. I was watching I subscribe to all the company's videos, so anytime anybody posts a video, I watch it. And I was watching a video with my daughter the other day of one of the suppliers, and I won't name them. And they've got like 40,000 followers, and they had a video that had been posted for a couple of days that had like 52 views. And you're not giving them what they want when you've got that few views and that many subscribers. So there's areas where I think we're still, some of the videos are like we're going to a product introduction, and it's day 3 and the 4th seminar, and they can be a little bit on the dry side. But they've come a long way. I think all of us in the business, we've had to adapt to something that is so radically different. And we're not a business that, especially the ag background dealers, that's really big about change, and our customer base is the same way. So I don't think we've done too bad adapting to this new world. We've got a long way to go. Again, I think probably we need to get together and talk about it more and gain knowledge from each other on what's working. But it could be better, but I think we've done a decent job.
Good. We've had a couple of questions along this lines. What do you recommend for social media efforts? Is it becoming more pertinent for dealerships to use Facebook, Twitter, etc.?
I like Facebook. I'm still not on the Twitter bandwagon yet. Although it's, with the real lifestyle customer, it's more important than with the ag guy. Facebook, I think you definitely need Facebook. And I think you need to post stuff that's of interest. The way you need to use social media is when there's something new, something exciting, something different. You go to a product introduction and you come back with this great product that's coming, or somebody comes out for 0% for 96 months on tractors. Get all over Facebook about that. And when people realize you're giving them information that they might not otherwise be exposed to, I think that it's a success. And just stuff of common interest, news about the dealership. You do some kind of a benefit or something, or somebody in your dealership does something outside the dealership, put that on there. It's all building a kind of a family, a community, and they want that. So yeah, it's important. Don't sell on social media. It's not about selling. It's about building relationships.
That's a good point. I think Facebook could be a good place to use some of that video you were talking about as well.
Absolutely. I had one of my videos got, there's a channel out there, and I may forget their name. It's horsepowers.com, And some of their videos are girls in bikinis on tractors, so don't blame me for that. But they shared one of my videos the other day, and all they are is just a total web page that is devoted to equipment, and it's mostly big equipment. And they just grab video off the internet and post it on their site, and they have thousands of followers. And they picked up one of my videos the other day, and I got a kind of a rush of web traffic off that. But there's sites out there where you can grab video and put it on your Facebook page that would benefit you.
Good. Oh, I think this lends itself to that question or that point you were making about kind of a confrontational buyer coming in for the rural experience. How often did you find yourself having to talk a buyer out of a piece of equipment? Maybe they thought they needed something that they didn't need, or basically just wanted it as a kind of a keeping up with the Joneses type of a situation?
Well, I want to tell you, whoever wrote that question has got this thing kind of figured out. I have to compliment them. What that is saying to the customer when you're telling them, I care more about getting you the right thing than I do about the sale. That's telling them that you're really into a relationship. And occasionally, I remember we had a used two-wheel drive, no loader, compact tractor, 22 horse with turf tires. And I had a personal friend that came in to buy it. And I tried everything I could to talk him out of it. I told him all the disadvantages of traction with two-wheel drive. I told him about not having a loader was going to bother him. And actually, if you want to see him, I've got a video where I talk about buying a tractor under 25 horsepower, because that's a segment of the audience that the guys that buy those size tractors a lot of times hate them. So I'd always try to bump them up to a bigger size. But you know, you with something there's a high possibility they're not going to like. You need to be real about it and tell them. And I told my buddy every bad thing about it, and I told him, I said, once this tractor leaves the lot, I don't ever want to see it again, because we've had it for 2 years or whatever. And he was fine with that. So I think what you're asking is and I'm going to tell one more story real quickly. I'll tell you about Bernie. Bernie was a good friend of mine. He coached my daughters on softball teams. And Bernie came in one Saturday and bought a 40-horse tractor, 40 engine. That's what he wanted. I made him a price. He said, you're $200 higher than your competition. I said, I'll meet their price, and he bought it. A year later, Bernie's back in my office wanting to buy a 4x5 round baler. And I said, what are you going to pull it with, Bernie? And he said, well, the tractor I bought from you. And I said, that's not a big enough tractor to pull the baler we're talking about. And he said, well, I don't see why not. And I said, it's not big enough. And I just pretty much told him I wasn't selling him the baler. And he went and bought a baler, a 4x5 round baler, and pulled it with a 40-horse tractor for about 10 minutes. And everything from that point forward, we sold Bernie. And as far as I know, S&H is still selling Bernie. Now, I'm not sure that's a good thing, because Bernie's kind of well, anyway. But I think you do that, and you try to talk them out of something won't work for them. And if they go somewhere else and buy it, they're going to find out you were telling them the truth, and then they're yours for life.
Great. In your opinion, how important is it that a multi-location dealership has a dedicated internet manager?
Extremely important. Critical. It goes back to what I was saying earlier. I think it's going to come to the time when we've got somebody shut up in an office somewhere where walk-in customers can't get to them, that's doing nothing but internet. And those of you that have just smaller dealerships, it's going to be tough to justify, but the immediacy in this process is such that you just need that. So yeah, it'll pay dividends.
With regard to social media, do you have a feel for how often somebody should be posting? Is it a couple times a day? Is it a couple times a week? A couple times a month? What's your opinion on that?
Well, it's just like anything else. More is better. Sure like to see something new, at least once a week. But it's hard, especially with a seasonality. But it's just like with what I do. My partner Dave could tell you more about this than I can, but Google is judging the traffic to your everything. And there's some really, really smart people working in many industries trying to figure it out. But the more you're doing online, the more Facebook work you're doing, the more you're changing your website, they're tracking all of that. And so the more effort you're putting into your internet presence, the higher you'll rank when somebody types in a search. So more is better.
Okay. Now, once the personal customer information is collected at the dealership, how do they utilize it without being too forward or too pushy? And this person adds a note that it seems today's customers don't really like to be bothered.
Well, the automotive world says, and I'm just going to, I totally agree with where the questioning is coming from, because I always worry about bothering people. The thought in the customer's mind is, if I provide this information, I am fine with getting pertinent information back from them. I expect it. It's when you send them something that doesn't apply to their interests that you get in trouble and you're bothering them. So it's kind of a fine line, but I guess if I gave you my email address and I'm looking at something and we've got the deal of a lifetime, I want to know about it. And I'm willing for you to have my contact information for the chance that you'll get back with me when something that can positively impact me is available.
Okay. How have you sold your organization's value when all the novice customer seems to be looking at is the purchase price?
Hate to keep plugging my stuff. I've got a video that looks at two tractors that are the same horsepower that are $3,000 apart in price. And, a lot of times the guy doesn't know what extendable lower links are, doesn't notice the folding roll bar, doesn't notice the tilt steering wheel. He's looking at a gear drive versus your hydro. So I think education there is important. Make sure we're comparing apples to apples. And then I'm going to tell the story I told. And a lot of times the guy down the road that's selling a tractor that's $2,000 cheaper than mine is selling a brand that has just, doesn't have much of a track record in North America. And I just tell them a story. I say, that may be a fine product, and the guy that's selling it may be a great guy. Here's the difference in what they're selling and them and us. A new company coming into North America brings in this product. They have really no expense, low overhead, and so they can sell it cheaper than all the rest of us. And they sell a lot of them. The next thing that happens, and same thing with the dealer, he sells a lot of them. We realize sometimes they break down. We've got to have parts. We've got to have a parts distribution center. The dealer's got to stock parts. Then we realize, oh my goodness, we got to have service guys. So the company hires service guys, the dealer hires service people, and pretty soon we're up to the price of the competition. And people quit buying the product they don't know. And a lot of times, and any of you have been around the business know, there's a lot of companies that have pulled out of North America. And then the investment you made in that tractor is zero because it has no resale value. So I just tell the people, our dealership will be here to serve you in 10 years, and the company we represent will be here. And that has value, and yeah, it's a little bit more money, but you'll be buying peace of mind that will be around.
Great. All right, before we wrap up, Mike, we had a couple of requests. Can you mention your websites again one last time?
EDM for Sales. Equipment Dealer Marketing is the name of the company. EDMforsales.com is my is Dave and me providing web assistance, and AskTractorMike.com is my web page. And I appreciate that, guys. This has given me a chance to plug these, and I appreciate that opportunity.
Terrific. All right, that's about all the time we've got for today. As I mentioned at the start, today's presentation and the audio are going to be made available on rurallifestyledealer.com in the event you'd like to go back and review it. Keep an eye out for your email and the Rural Lifestyle Dealer e-brief newsletter for additional information for when that's live. After you leave the webinar, a short survey is going to pop up. If you wouldn't mind taking a few moments to let us know what you thought of today's event and let us know if there are any topics you'd like to see covered in the future, we'd certainly appreciate it. On behalf of myself, Mike Wiles, and the whole staff at Rural Lifestyle Dealer, as well as the team at Zetter North America who sponsored today's event, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.